Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Allie's Book Nook. If you're new here, my name is Allison, and today I'm going to review with you the books that I have read for about the past month. So we are in the last day of May, and I actually probably had my best reading month ever in May. I read 10 books this month, so I'm really happy about that. But I might have some books in here that I finished in April that we just haven't talked about yet. So going forward, I'll probably do these more based on the calendar month. So anyway, let's just dive in here. Got a lot of variety here in this pile, but the first book I have to talk to you about is called Come With Me by Ronald Malfi, or Malfi. I apologize, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but this book was awesome. So this was actually recommended to me by a viewer on this channel, so thank you so much for recommending this author. I have, since I read this, purchased another book of his because his writing is awesome. So he is in the horror genre, but this was not really what I was expecting for horror. So let me tell you here, I haven't been really taking many notes in my journal, and in fact I ended up getting a new, more of like a log style journal, because I felt like this was kind of a waste of pages when I'm not documenting a lot in here. But basically I just read the paper copy of this. I started it on 4/25 and I finished on 5/4, and it was 387 pages. So like I said, this is not what I expected for like a typical horror book, but it was really good. So it's about this guy that his wife dies in a tragic accident, a tragic manner, and then he starts to uncover she had this secret life that he didn't know anything about. And so he kind of is pulled into that world. So it says he goes through her belongings, where he finds a receipt for a motel room in another part of the country. Piloted by grief and an increasing sense of curiosity, Erin embarks on a journey to discover what Allison had been doing in the weeks prior to her death. So yeah, his wife's name is Allison, and the way that the style of the writing is, he's talking to her. So he'll be like, Allison, remember when this happened? Allison, I went and did this. And so that was kind of a unique writing style. And I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, he finds out that she basically was tracking. I don't want to give too much away. I'm trying to, I try to have these videos be spoiler free. So I don't really want to get into it. But she was basically spending a lot of her time doing something that he had no idea about, and it takes him down this whole other road. But there is, and that wasn't really paranormal, but there is some paranormal element stuff going on, and even some, I guess you would say, like sci-fi elements. And then the ending is like, pow, out of left field. Did not see it coming. But I really liked the ending. It was really good. And then it's kind of like, do I want to go back and reread it to look for clues now that I know the ending? So this was really good. It was, like I said, not like necessarily a typical creepy bump in the night kind of horror book, but really good, really well written. This guy is awesome. I can't wait to read more of his backlog, but the next book I'm going to read of his is called The Night Parade. These books are not on my library's Libby list, and so I don't have the option to listen to it for free on audio, but I'm fine with just reading the books because really, really good. So that Night Parade one is kind of sounds more like The Stand kind of storyline, the Stephen King book, The Stand. So we'll see. But anyway, I gave this 5 stars all the way across for character, plot, writing, and overall. That was a 5-star read. Really enjoyed it. So then I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So this is a pretty popular book. I had it in, I picked the hard copy up like in November from a local thrift store for $2 and put it in my Libby Holds, and finally after like 24 weeks the audio became available. So I did read this paper copy and audio. I didn't write a finish date on here, but I started at 5/8. It probably took me about a week to read it. 389 pages. In the end, I gave it 3.5 stars. So it was good, but to me, it didn't really live up to the hype. I don't know what I was really expecting. So it's about this former Hollywood debutante. She was a big star back in the day, like early Hollywood days, and then present day, she hires a reporter to come write her biography, I should say, and then publish it after she passes. So Evelyn Hugo, she had 7 husbands, as you can tell by the title, and she had kind of a challenging life despite all of her fame and fortune. And so you are basically going through her life from the 50s through the 80s, and then present day is when she's being interviewed. It wasn't exactly, I don't know. Sometimes I felt like her character at times wasn't very likable, but it also made her human. So I don't know. I think it was just one of those books for me that I was really hyped up thinking it would be a 5-star read based on everything that I've seen in reviews. And for me, it just didn't live up to it, which is how I felt about The Kind Worth Killing. By, was it Peter Klein? Anyway, that book also, same thing. I had really high hopes and it was decent, but it just didn't really live up to the hype. So yeah, this one, I don't know. I might, I might donate this to a little free library or like trade it in at my used bookstore, but this one is staying in my library. So this was just okay. They are turning this one into a movie. So, if you're interested in it, I recommend reading it before the movie comes out. So next I have a few books in the Miss Peregrine series. I can never say that word. I talked in my last video about, I think I read the first 2 books. There's 5 books plus 2 companion novellas. And so I read several of those this go around. And maybe they're not all written down in here. But the first one I have here is Tales of the Peculiar. So this is a companion novel. In the second book, which I talked about in my last video, they talk about, in the book, there is a book of peculiar fairy tales that they reference, and this is it. And so this is just a really pretty book. This only took me a day to read / listen to. And it's really pretty. It's got the bookmark ribbon in it and really cool illustrations, but they're all just a bunch of short fairy tales that are kind of hold some kernel of truth in the peculiar universe, and they're referenced throughout the series. So that was fun. I really enjoyed that book. And again, if you've read Hollow City, the second one, this is most referenced so far in that book. So then I read the third book in the series, which is Library of Souls. This was really good. Do I have this written down in here? Okay, so this is young adult fantasy / horror fiction. I did this in the hardback and audio, and I read this from 5/2 to 5/8, 458 pages. This was actually my second time reading this book. I first started this series in like 2017, I think, or 2016. And so since I'm going back through it all, I had to start again at the beginning. But yeah, this was a solid 4.5 stars. I give this 4.5 stars. I don't want to give it away, but the universe just keeps expanding, and that's what I love about these books. And they're so good, and I feel like they just don't get enough hype. Maybe it's because the series had started, you know, over 10 years ago. I think maybe 2011 the first one was published, but the last one was published just a couple years ago, and it's really great. Even though it's young adult, it's so good. So if you like Harry Potter or any of those type of like fantasy series books, I think you'd like this one. But yeah, it does have like a little bit of like a horror element to it. So this was really good. And the cool thing about these is they have a lot of pictures that are like real life photographs that he works into the story throughout it. So if I listen to it on audio, I'll go back and look at the pages I missed with the pictures. So then I read the next one in the series, which is A Map of Days. And this is a signed copy by Ransom Riggs. This one I have had sitting in my collection, and I had never read it. So, in fact, I think, yeah, there's a receipt in here from when I purchased it, brand new. And I just saw it, but, I don't know. It was quite a while ago. So this is the first one in the series that I had never read before, and I really enjoyed it. This was published in 2018. Really, really good. So, Map of Days. This was book 4. I read it paper and audio, 513 to 516. It's 496 pages and 14 hours on audio, and I gave this one 5 stars. I like this one a little bit more than Library of Souls. One thing I don't like about the series is they're all more the black and white covers and spines. This one's more like a sepia, I think is how you say that. Like that yellow tint, which is cool, but it doesn't really match the rest of them. So, but yeah, I just love how he just keeps expanding the universe. And this one actually had some old school colored pictures in it as well. So, that was kind of cool. Well, that's just like a map, but I was trying to find one to show you guys. So, really fun. My daughter dropped out of the series like 100 pages into the second book, but I'm still going. Then I read the next book in the series, The Conference of Birds, and we're back to the same black and white coloring. And this one I gave 5 stars overall. This is first one I reviewed in my new reading journal. I said the series continues to be 5 stars through all novels. Characters, plot story, readability, overall rating 5, 5, 5, 5. This is the 5th novel in Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children. I did this in a hardcover and an audiobook. I like the little prompts on here. I got this off of Amazon, and one thing I haven't really been doing, but there is like a tension guide where you can plot like how your level of tension in the book. So that's kind of cool. This was published by Dutton Books in 2020, 325 pages. I did not write how long it was on audio, but it wasn't that long. It was like maybe 8 or 9 hours. I did buy this new on Amazon because I'm like, now I have to finish it. So it was $15.39 new. The hardback was a little more, but since most of mine are hardback except the first one, I wanted to keep that going. The other thing I like about the hardbacks is kind of the insignia there and just like the gold on them. I think that's really pretty. So I wanted to kind of keep with that. I started it on 515 and I ended it on 521. So I said this is a 5th out of 6 book in the series. It ended on a cliffhanger like all of them previously have done. They all end on cliffhangers. And they all, even though it's like a lot of books, it's pretty much in a pretty short timeline. Like within less than a year so far, all of this stuff has taken place. So I think that's kind of cool. So it was fast-paced, engaging, and it had continued world building and character development. You get to know more of a new main character that was introduced in the last novel, and a return of a character that left early in the second novel. I did notice once we got into this one, there was more swearing than before. There's not a lot of swearing, curse words, especially in the earlier books in the series because it is a young adult series. But as our characters are getting more into, later teenage years, maybe they're rebelling more. I don't know, but they're starting to swear a little more. Nothing egregious, nothing too offensive or anything, but just be aware that, like, I would feel comfortable with my kids reading these books, but well, my oldest daughter, but this one does have a little more swear words in it. So, and I don't mean like the really bad ones, but yeah. Anyway, 5 stars all across the board. Love that one. So I have one book left in that series, and I'll probably be reading that after I finish my current book. I'm just waiting for The Hold to come available for the audiobook. So the next book I read, I don't have a copy of because I borrowed it, but I did print out some info from it. So it was a nonfiction book called The Four Agreements. I don't really like nonfiction. I haven't read one. I mean, I read 58 books last year and not a one of them was nonfiction. But I do think they're good sometimes for personal growth. That's excluding the Bible, okay? The Bible I consider nonfiction. And I do read that, not as much as I would like to, but in terms of other, like, I guess self-help books or any type of nonfiction, I really struggle with it because I like to read as an escape from reality. I just do. But I was recommended this book and I did read it and I don't regret it. So it's called The Four Agreements, and a personal guide to freedom. So I read the paperback. It's written by Miguel Cruz. It's a nonfiction self-help book. It was actually published in 1997. I think it's pretty popular. I talked to a few people that have heard of it. I borrowed it, so I didn't pay for it. This log has a category for price. I started it on 512 and I finished it on 520. So I gave it a 3.5 overall. So in here they talk about there's 4 agreements that you make with yourself. Okay, you choose to make these agreements with yourself as an adult. And the first one is be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take anything personally. The third one is don't make assumptions. And the fourth one is always do your best. So they sound simple, but it's harder to practice these than you would think, especially like I'm not used to that. But it's been good. I think I've started to notice situations more where I'm like, okay, I'm making assumptions here. I don't need to make assumptions, or being impeccable with your word. All of these, I think they're great values for anyone to try to practice in their lives. So I said it's outside of my wheelhouse. I usually don't like to read nonfiction, but I haven't read it in a long time, like I said. I still feel like it was useful and insightful and helpful, and I do want to incorporate these agreements into my life. That's why I printed this out, put it in my office for future reference. So, yeah. Okay. Well, 2 more books here. No, 3 more books that I got through. The first one I did on my Kindle, which I'm trying to turn on right now so you can see the cover, an audiobook, which while I'm waiting for this to turn on, let me tell you guys, I got this Kindle about a year ago at a garage sale for $5. It's an older one. And what I did was I had a 3-month free trial for Kindle Unlimited because of a different tablet that I bought, which my kids kind of overtook. So I just loaded this with like 10 audiobooks 10 ebooks from Kindle Unlimited like a year ago, and then I put it in airplane mode. So since then, now I have all of these books to get through, and once I do that, then I might get another membership and load it back up and then cancel it. I don't know, but that's my little hack there. If you have a device that you can put on airplane mode, you'll keep your audiobooks even after your subscription is canceled. I mean, your ebooks. Okay, so the book that I read next was called The Drowning Woman. Oops, I was trying to show you the cover here. Anyway, The Drowning Woman. And you can see I only got through 40% on here, and the rest I listened to on audio. But that is written by Robin Harding. It's a thriller, and the audiobook has been in my Libby Holds again for like 6 months. Finally came available, but it was published on 6/13/2023, so fairly new, post-COVID. They do bring up COVID in it. 352 pages, and my cost was basically free because I had the Kindle Unlimited trial and then the Libby audiobook. So this only took me 3 days to get through, 5/23 to 5/26. It takes place in Seattle. That's like the only notes I have on here. And I gave it a 4.25. It was a good thriller. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best book I ever read, but still was really good. I'm not even gonna, it keeps skipping past that. So basically it's about this lady that she's fallen on hard times, and she's actually unhoused, living in her vehicle in the Seattle area, and she's like sleeping in her car, and one morning she is in her car and she sees this rich lady try to drown herself on purpose, and so she saves her, rescues her. They kind of form this friendship, but things are not, things are not what they seem with this lady that tried to drown herself, the drowning woman. And it's the typical thriller where you don't know who to trust. There's a couple other characters that are introduced, and it's like, who's really the bad guy? What's really going on here? You don't really know who to trust. Who's out to get who? That type of thing. So I did enjoy that. I did guess a little bit of what was going on in it, but still, it was good. It was a good, solid thriller, easy to get through, short chapters. I really like that. So if you like thrillers, I would recommend that one. Okay. The next one I have is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. So that was one where I loaded it on my Kindle a while ago. Let's see if I can. And I have this error. It wouldn't let me open it. So I ended up just listening to it on audio. This is the only book in a long time that I've just exclusively listened to on audio. Through Libby. It's published by William Harper Mayo. It's a thriller, and it was published 4/24/23, so just a couple years ago as well. 10 hours on audio, 352 pages in the book, and it was free. Again, I just borrowed it from Libby. So I started it on 5/26 and I ended it on 5/29. I ended up giving this a 4.25 overall. So for characters, 4 out of 5. Plot, 4 out of 5. Readability, 4.5. And overall, 4.25. So this is set in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a second Taylor Adams book that I read. And his first one that I read, which I don't own, but I read and listened to the audio, was No Exit. That's a pretty famous thriller in the thriller world, and so good. That was like probably the best book I read in 2024. If you haven't read it, you need to. I've heard that the movie adaptation is crap. I haven't watched it, but the book is amazing. I loved it, highly recommend it. So I think there was a really high bar set with that one. And so this one wasn't quite as good, but it was still really good. So basically it's about this girl reads a really cheesy, crummy thriller horror book on her e-reader. She reads a lot, and so she gives it a 1-star rating. And the author like comes at her, and they try to get her to take it down, and she won't, and they take it very personal. And now they're after her. Like they're after her physically outside of the internet. And so it's a really cool premise. That's probably the first plot that I've heard of that's similar to, I haven't heard of anything similar to that. But I said that it's fast paced. It's an interesting premise. Like I said, not as good as No Exit, but that would be really hard to beat. I thought it was kind of predictable. I did guess some things in it, but it still had a lot of twists. And that's the thing, same thing with No Exit. You think, okay, how can there be 4 more hours left in this book? And it's just because there keeps being twists and twists and twists. But not super far-fetched. I think his twists are a little bit more believable than like Riley Sager's, which are still really enjoyable. But Anyway, I really liked the dog in this book, Loki, and um, there are some kind of moments of peril with her, but it's all good. She's a good dog. I liked her in there, and I would recommend this book, especially like to avid readers or readers of thrillers. Really good. I have one more Taylor Adams book. Where is that? Somewhere on my shelf here. Hairpin Bridge, that I plan on reading this year, sometime probably in the next few months. That kind of takes place locally from where I am. So anyway, I think he's a pretty solid author. I'd like to read more of his backlog. Let me know if you guys have read any Taylor Adams, what your favorite book is. The last book I threw in here, because I was thinking I only read 9, but I guess technically I read 10 books, because I read this book to my 2 little girls, and that is Sarah Plain and Tall by Patricia McLaughlin. I didn't write it down. I didn't track it or anything, but I did read it. You guys have probably heard of this from your childhood. It was really popular, like when I was a kid. It was written in the 80s, I think, like mid-80s, I want to say, 1985, yeah. And it won the Newbery Award. I remember really liking this as a kid. As an adult, it definitely fell more flat. It was not as intense. It was just kind of, I don't really see what the big deal is, but as a kid, I loved it. So basically it's about this lady. This guy has 2 kids on the prairie back in the day, and his wife died in childbirth, so he's a single parent. He puts out an ad for a wife, because that's what people did back then. And this lady answers, and she lives in Maine, so she comes to stay with them for a few months to see if it's going to be a good fit for her. And she brings a lot of joy to their household, but there's always this kind of almost impeding sense of doom, especially from the little boy that she's going to leave. And that plays out in here. But reading it as an adult, I found like it was kind of unjustified. Like she didn't do anything to make him think that she was going to leave, but I guess he was just scared because he finally had something like that in his life, and he didn't want to lose it. But I think it's safe to tell you how it ends. It's fine. She decides to stay. But it was good for the kids. The kids liked it. She's a strong, independent female main character, so I did like that. There's parts in here where you see like she wants to learn how to ride horses and drive the wagon, stuff like that. So that was kind of cool to see her in an empowering role for back in the day. But anyway, yeah, the girls enjoyed that. It was a really quick read. It took us maybe a week of reading a chapter a night. And there's 3 of them. I might have read the second one as a kid, but I don't remember. But it's only 58 pages long. Excuse me. So that is everything that I got through. Like I said, best reading month I've had in a long time. And I don't know why. I didn't take any time off work. I didn't really travel where I'd be listening to more audiobooks. But just making that decision, I guess, to have this type of media more. Like, I don't watch much TV, but oh, I got a little cough here. If I swear by audiobooks. I'm like hooked on them now. And so if I'm going to be doing the dishes or chores, laundry, cleaning the bathrooms, I'll just pop in an audiobook instead of music most of the time now, and I thoroughly enjoy that. So anyway, I am currently reading Recursion by Blake Crouch. I just started that last night, and I already think I'm going to love it. Last month I talked about my first Blake Crouch book, which was Dark Matter. That was really good. Now, like I said, I moved on to another one, which I picked up at a garage sale, and it's a little early to say, but I think that could be another 5-star book. He's really good. I love his writing style. It's like sci-fi, thriller, good mixture of that with still like, it's still somewhat character driven in the plot, but really, really good. So watch for that next review of that. If you saw my last video of a book haul, I just recently took in a bunch of books, and so I'm going to be pretty busy this summer getting through them all. I just wish there was more time to get through my never-ending TBR list, but let me know if you guys have read any of these books, if you've read the Miss Peregrine series, what your thoughts were on it. What are you reading right now? What are you looking forward to reading as in terms of summer reads? Next month, June, which is almost here, Riley Sager has a new book coming out that looks pretty good. So if you are a Riley Sager fan, look for that. I can't think of the name offhand, but it takes place on a train and it sounds really good. So I might have to check that one out too, but first I got a lot of other stuff to get through. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel and giving this video a thumbs up. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye guys.